Okay, it looks like we're rolling. My name is Mike Waite. This is the OpenShift Commons Briefings. This is our operator hours show here today, every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. And today we are fortunate to have, I'm going to actually have to share my screen, aren't I? Yes. Today we're actually fortunate enough to have with us two gentlemen from ProphetStor. We have been talking with them all morning here. And there goes the phone. So we have Eric Chen, who's the CEO of ProphetStor, and Ming Sheu, who's the EVP of ProphetStor, and they are joining us here today on our show. I'm going to stop sharing and welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming and being our next contestant on the Commons Briefing Hour show. Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, Mike.
You're welcome. So, holidays coming. We're kind of coming to the end of the year. You folks get all ready for the holidays? Is ProphetStor working right up until the 23rd, or how are you folks addressing that?
We will work for the customers till the end of the year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But 2020 has been too long, right? We all hope that it's gone by now. Yeah.
It's been a long year. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I haven't. Our offices have been closed for physical, presence since the end of March, and I never thought I'd be able to work here in my office here at my house for 9 straight months without going crazy. How are you folks dealing with it?
Yeah, I still remember last year in Red Hat Summit. We have a big audience and a big stage, and the CEO of IBM, Red Hat, and Microsoft, and ourselves all are invited as keynote speakers on the stage. And suddenly this year, everybody is in their pajamas, right? And locked in their rooms and doing all the conference thing. And that was fun.
I like to call them, Eric, I like to call them comfortable pants. So,
yeah.
But Eric and Ming, thanks again for being here today. Eric, you're the CEO and co-founder of ProphetStor, and we always like to find out a little bit something about, tell us a little bit something about yourself. I know when we were talking earlier, when we were doing one of our dry runs, you mentioned that you founded ProphetStor, but that's not the first company that you started. Can you tell us about that?
That's right. Yeah, as a matter of fact, our management team all have experiences in funding companies and also running them well and have a successful exit. I myself co-founded a company called ProphetStor, which was listed on NASDAQ since 2001. And of course, our president, Dr. Sheu, also co-founded a company called IMI, and later was acquired by NetLogic and then by Broadcom for $3.7 billion, right? And Ming actually has been a serious entrepreneur, helped co-founded several companies, and all have successful access. And most recent one was Ruckus Networks, and that was later acquired by Brocade.
Wow.
And of course, Ruckus was also an NYSE listed company. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty proven track record of building successful companies. Are you hiring?
Yeah, of course. And also Teddy Back, our EVP of BD, he was. He has a tremendous experience in the industry since Legato and Veritas time, and Symantec has been in EVP roles. And in the past, we were competitors sometimes, and we actually collaborate in some other times, but it was fun. And so it has been great working together with those industry leaders and also serious entrepreneurs.
So why ProphetStor? What's in the name?
Okay, the name Prophet means that foreseeing something. Yeah, And the reason why we wanted to name the company this way is that because we would like to bring the foreseeing something into IT operations, which means that we would like the IT systems or cloud operations to be proactive rather than passive, reactive like before, right? In the past, we have a high availability systems built up for ITs, for enterprise grade or carrier grade systems, but that HA, high availability, will kick in only when one system fail and the other one will take over. But that is also a very painstaking process and things, and also the cost of making it right and also maintaining them will be very high and can be prohibiting in nature. So we want the IT system or cooperation to become proactive, making sure that the issues can be found before it becomes a problem, and the performance or workload can be predicted, so that we can do planning and we can do resource allocations or workload placements in a more appropriate manner. And it becomes a very complicated processes. So AI and machine learning, all these machine things can be should be brought in order to make it happen. And therefore, we need to collect a lot of data, and we would like to provide information as a services. That's why the name of the company has been ProphetStor Data Services since day one. Yeah.
Okay.
And we started working on storage systems, of course, and all the way up to IT.
Cool. It's pretty interesting. We we have been working with you folks for quite some time now to
Exactly.
get your software tested and certified, and you folks have a Red Hat certified operator. It's available in our container. The Red Hat certified container is available in the registry, and you folks also have a Red Hat certified operator. It's available in the Red Hat marketplace operated by IBM. Isn't that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So we've been a very supportive partners of the OpenShift ecosystems since day one. Yeah.
Okay, great. So,
and I myself is actually sitting on the software partner advisory board of Red Hat.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have for us today? I know we've got Ming here on the phone. I know that you folks are going to do some demos, but tell us about the problems that your company solves for customers, and how you help address the challenges that businesses are facing as they move into multi-cloud.
Okay, that's a very very important question, as a matter of fact, especially now that IBM and Red Hat are very focusing on multi-cloud and AI, right? And so it clicked all very well with what we've been doing. So actually, we share the same visions about the path that the IT industry is heading to. Okay, so for example, managing the IT infra and cloud operations, those are all very passive, and we actually require a lot of human ingenuity. And the situation is getting worse when we bring in the containerized application, the DevOps processes, and the new multi-cloud paradigms. In addition to that, workloads are mostly dynamics, right? And therefore, when in the past you are handling the dynamic of the workloads with a constant provisioning of the resources, and that is not right. So it's actually very challenging to try, manage, and optimize, and it needs to be changed. It needs a huge change. And that's one interesting stories I want to share with you. Especially this related to what initially what we do here. So many years ago, when I was working for the previous company I helped co-found it, we actually sent a group of engineers over to a remote customer site for installing the software-defined storage solutions. After 2 weeks of work, they finished the job. They got compliments from the user, a very demanding user, as a matter of fact, and then returned with triumph, right? And we were all happy and pleased, both the engineering and management. And we have been thinking that, oh, this is yet another success story that we can share with the rest of the world. And we are on our way to something that's even bigger. So 1 week later, as a matter of fact, I visited the SI partner that we work together with to address the need for the customer's case, thinking that the CEO of the SI partners will be thanking me and greet me with a celebrating party. But the things actually went totally wrong. When there's no red carpets, there's no dinner. The CEO of that company or that SI actually told me, saying that, Eric, it was a great project. The customer is happy. We make good money, and you have a very good support engineers. Okay. However, I would like to terminate the reseller contract with you, effectively, immediately. And I was shocked, right? To say the least, right? I say, why? I thought that we actually are onto something great. We have been doing this successfully at the customer side. But the CEO actually replied saying that, well, I watch my team working with your engineers, okay, and they are all exhausted doing the projects. Yeah. Right? Because they need to get into the details of the configuration. They need to be careful in every step of the way, connecting the cables and trying not to step on others' toes and getting the right size of the storage spaces. And also need to understand the rest of the configurations. And they need also to watch closely about the application behavior. And a lot of time, this is all guesswork, and they would require, they don't know exactly what they need in order to meet the SLAs of the application. Okay. Besides, the storage virtualization that they are using there is mainly only for capacity or space virtualizations, not about performance virtualization that's actually needed by the applications. So the solution has not solved the major issues I've seen at the customer side. And also the opportunity cost is way too high because we need something that can we wasted too much resources. There gotta be a better way, more intelligent and automatic way of doing things. And that struck me very, very well. And it's a real mind-boggling conversation. And that changed every aspect I had about a product, right? So years later, I left my previous company and I met with Dr. Ming Sheu, who was used to be an MIT professor and a serious entrepreneur, right? We started to talk about that we need to bring the application awareness first to storage management and then to IT and the cloud. And it clicked very well. And besides, he was an expert on AI and machine learning. And from that point on, he has been a brain of what we do. So at the time of 2012, AI was still in its hibernation, and not a lot of people actually pay attention to that. But we decided that we need to have a company to bring AI and machine learning technology for managing application and resources.
So what, everyone's an AI vendor these days. It's one of the buzzwords du jour. What AI technologies do you use in your products?
Okay, that's a big and great questions. I believe that Sunny and Ming would have even better solutions. But to illustrate that, the AI technology can be used in first of all predicting the workloads, meaning that if you observe what happened in the past, there's a good chance that you can see what's going to come in the future. So we use the time series analysis for that. Okay, and the second one that we use will be the reinforcement learning in deciding the needed resources for meeting the requirements for the future workload demands. Okay, and it's very simple to say that because basically all the things that has been invented, but saying that I'm using AI technology is a very simplified thing to say, because if you just blindly throw in the technology to the issues that you want to address, you would end up with tremendous resource demands just to solve a very small issues. Okay, so I actually we have seen and witnessed the AlphaGo beating all these the Go champions in the world, right? And that's a very ingenious task they have done. They have proven something, but they also have been using a data center for doing that. So you don't want to use a GPU server just to predict the size of a container, the size, the dynamics of a container. That will be now the benefit of that would not justify or warrant the needed resources. So that's a combination, a big combination of the right amount of science and engineering, right? In order to save enough of resources needed by the so-called AI technologies and be able to provide a proper solution for that. So we actually have done that. Yeah.
You used the word resources, but you didn't say cost or money or budget reduction or improved efficiencies or so forth. So, tell us about, Federator.ai. How does that benefit customers? Meaning, like, we all get it that everyone needs intelligent storage for multi-cloud, but like, what's the business impact that you folks can deliver to customers?
Okay, so if you look at what happens in the past, that that every layer of the IT solutions. Okay, when I talk about layers, I'm talking about horizontal layers, right? That things we have the operating systems, we have real, right? Red Hat Enterprise Linux, we have Microsoft as operating systems, we have Oracle as applications, Postgres as a database, or MongoDB as the database systems. And underneath, we have in the infrastructures, right? And also we have clouds, right? So for example, the cloud service providers is AWS or Google, right? And other than that, all the clouds they have many servers, networking devices. So underneath, they are Intel CPUs, and even within the Intel CPUs, there are cores of that. So understanding the whole stack will be a very complicated process to take. So in order to support an applications, people just throw in a lot of resources in there, and they don't. And also each and every one of the layer, they are doing their best effort job, trying to maximize the performance of that layer, without understanding the impact or what's going on outside of the scope of that specific layer. So that being said, there's got to be good correlations from application all the way down to the hardware level, so that you can find out the best combinations in order to serve that specific application at the same time, not wasting resources. What I meant by wasting is that if you don't provide the resource at the right amount of resources, for example, if you are over provisioning the resources, then you are wasting your money. So resource actually equals the cost. But at the same time, if you don't know the right amount of resources, and if you under provision it, you will run the risk of out of memory, or even the stop operations of the applications. So the resources has to be of the right amount. So we call it fitted. But at the same time, it has to be provided at the right timing, right? Because otherwise, if you find out reactively that the application needs more resources, and you ask for more from the system or from the cloud, right? From the systems, meaning that if your microservice require more parts in order for it to run, then it will request OpenShift or Kubernetes platforms, right, to get more parts or increase the size of part. And there's a delay or latency for that. That latency is anywhere in between 20 seconds to 30, 40 minutes. And if you are out of the resources for your node, then you need to get more instances from the cloud or from underneath a physical service. And that actually would take more than 20 minutes in order for it to happen. And the process is not automatic. So it will create tremendous impact for the performance of the application. So in order for the application to run optimally in terms of performance and cost, we need to provide the just-in-time fitted resources for that application. And that's the foundation of our thinking. And in order for that to happen, first of all, you need to understand your application. So that's why we need to have the application awareness. And everything that for the accelerations industries that talking about providing specific hardware or software combinations in order to accelerate some application will require the understanding of the application. That's why application awareness is there. Yeah, so those are the things that we have there. So in order for this to happen, we have a group of industry leaders in understanding the IT infrastructures, cloud services, and the hardwares, platforms, applications, and also data scientists in order to provide the right solution for that. From two prospects. One is the application anatomy. You got to understand how the application is composed of. They are composed of multiple microservices, and that's actually a static description. But other than the static description, you gotta have the workload, which is dynamic in nature, and getting to understand both the static and also dynamic configurations of that application. Then you have the full knowledge about what is going to happen, what's going to happen, and what needs to be supported there. And of course, we can then manage the resources in order to get to support that specific application.
You know, I'm gonna date myself here, but you know, a long time ago, I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation
Okay,
in a
that's a
lab.
very good company.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
It was
very good company. Yeah.
it was in a lab, and I used to help software companies port their applications to Open VMS on Alpha, and we had storage arrays in the labs, which were about 3 feet tall. It was called the BA356, and each hard drive in the thing was like the size of a, used to call them a brick. They were like this big. It was like I think it was like
Right.
was it 4 gigabytes or something like this? And so storage has really changed a lot since then, back in the day when everything was just, a data center. What's it going to be like in the next 24 months? I mean, it's been 30 plus years since I worked at DEC. Things changed kind of gradually over the last 20, and have been accelerating. What do you think storage is going to look like 24 months from now?
Storage. I think there are more things other than storage. Well, your story actually resonated very well. Ming and myself, we all worked for IBM for many years ago. Right? So for quite long time, a period of time, we actually have learned a lot of tricks. Well, of the trade here, including how to make sure the system is running smoothly, how to make sure that it's reliable, and how to service enterprises and things like that. So I would bring the attention, everybody's attention, to what IBM is trying to do here. IBM recently have actually a merger with Red Hat, right? And they are bringing the whole company forward as a cloud company. Okay, so as you can see here, that IBM is very focusing on multi-cloud and AI now. And if you look at the traditional storage companies such as EMC or NetApp, right? EMC is now becoming Dell. Has actually have become Dell. That NetApp is a very respectful. I mean, I respect that company very much. But as you can see, they are moving the whole systems, the storage systems, into the cloud. So ONTAP, which is driving the whole storage systems, is now available to be running on the cloud in AWS, for example, right? Leveraging whatever storages that AWS is providing to customers, but they are providing the so-called storage functions such as SnapMirror, which is our DR solutions for customers. So as people are moving to the cloud, the asset of the storage the demand for the asset is becoming diminishing. And to the cloud, then we need to understand how cloud is working. So as you can see, the OpenShift and also Kubernetes platform are supporting more distributed scale out storages such as Ceph. And that's exactly what's moving, and also high-speed storages, right? And also PCI-based storages. Those will be very much in demand. And one thing that's very interesting is the storage virtualization is moving from a controller that actually serves multiple storages into the storage or this so-called disk controllers, and to that level of virtualization, and that's a very interesting development that we will be seeing in the future. That will service cloud very well.
So when I asked you guys to come on the show here today, I was like, hey, we're going to be, doing this live. We've got people who are on the bridge. We're also live we're streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And we just had a question come in, and I was wondering if was it AS asks, can you explain more about the difference between any other standard Kubernetes resource autoscaler system and yours?
Okay. That is a very valid and very interesting questions. And the native Kubernetes auto scaling is a very interesting, ingenious innovations. People tend to just trust the native auto-scaling, thinking that it will take care of everything, right, for the scaling. But the fact is it is not like that. You know, when you are at a Kubernetes layer, that is a virtualization and also management layer, providing services to microservices or so-called applications. People tend to trust the system to provide VPA or HPA based on some criteria. For example, the HPA, you can set a criteria to be if the CPU utilization is more than 50%, then you actually create another pod in order to support the application. Okay, and that is very device oriented, not application aware. Okay, so I will use one example that, you know, if you are at a counter of McDonald's, right, and there's a cash register, that how many cash registers you should have in order to service the customer in the queue, in the line here. If you depends on the number of queue size to decide the number of cash register, then that will be a misleading things because it takes time and resources to open up a cash register. Okay, that's cost associated with that. But the fact is that you actually need to base you need to decide the size of your number of cash registers based on the traffic. If it is very busy lunchtime hours, right, then you probably need to actually have corresponding sizes of cash registers there. It's not based on the queue. It's not based on the number of customers waiting. Rather, it should be based on the traffic that you would expect to happen. So this is the analogies to the current solutions that auto scaling we have seen in the native Kubernetes, basing all the scaling on the CPU and memory, CPU utilization and memory utilizations. But in a later version of Kubernetes, it now allows the input from other sources to decide on the auto scaling. So we took advantage of that and you know, plug in the brand. I said that we actually have a brand from Sunny, right? The brand in there so that we would take in the data from the monitoring services or monitoring solutions, and then do the data analysis and understanding the workload well, having the predictions, and then based on that workload predictions, we then gather the needed resources for that. Okay, but we need to understand one tricky thing here is that the resource needed is not necessarily linear to the workload. So, you know, sometimes actually, if you increase the workload one time, and the resources needs to be triple in order to support it, right? So it will require some correlation analysis, and that's what we are good at too, right? Okay, well, so that is very different from the one that's native in the Kubernetes.
Okay, thank you, AS. I hope that answers your question. And if anyone else on YouTube or Facebook has questions you'd like to toss in as well, our producers will pick them up, and we'll get them addressed here as soon as we can. And you're welcome, AS.
Thank you, AS.
So we have Ming. Ming's your Executive Vice President of Product. Do we want to see how it all works? You want to?
Yes.
why don't we move into actually taking a look at your technology? And when I think demonstrations, I think one guy. I think Ming Sheu. Ming.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So let me first share my screen to make sure that everybody can see that.
And Ming, where are you joining us from today?
Oh, I'm here in Silicon Valley, California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't wait for traveling to start again. I really I'd much rather be doing these in person
Yes.
and going out to dinner with partners and so forth. But hopefully,
Yes, for sure.
hopefully soon we'll be able to start hopping on planes again. Anyways,
Yes.
what are we looking at? This is a federated AI demo.
Yes. 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 So let me kind of show you what Federated.ai can do for our customers. And as mentioned by Eric, the application workload is dynamic. So it's different at a different time of the day and different time of the week and so on and so forth, right? So knowing the workload is going to change can assist us in good resource planning. So
Now, is this
our system,
just one question, Ming? I apologize for interrupting. You know, I was reading your documentation earlier in the week, or actually, I think it was last week, on your site, and you mentioned, you know, AI for OpenShift. You didn't say Kubernetes or various different. Are you folks? Is this only running on OpenShift, or was that just the one that you were talking about in your documentation?
oh, you're right. So we actually can run on many Kubernetes deployments. So not just OpenShift.
Okay.
So for that document, maybe specific on OpenShift, but in general, we support all kinds of Kubernetes deployments, including the GKP and AKS and EKS and all the different communicator version. So we all support that. So it's not just the OpenShift.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay,
great.
And I promise that may not be the last time I interrupt.
Sure, no problem. Anytime, you can interrupt me anytime. So, so I was saying, right? So, knowing when the workload is going to change can assist us in good resource, right? Our system allows users to observe the workload prediction at different layers. So, for example, you can see over here, we can do the prediction at the cluster, namespace, application, or controller. And with different prediction granularity, and with together also different prediction layers, we can help the user to do a better resource plan to optimize their performance and resource utilizations. And as you can see over here, the diagram shows how we predict based on observation what the CPU usage look like and what's the memory usage look like. And the lighter color solid line is the observation value. The dotted green line is the prediction value. And then we can show the recommendation as well of how much you should reserve for the CPU and memory that can help you to manage your system better. And all of this recommendation and prediction are all available through our public API. So this is the main windows that show how you can utilize the workload prediction to do your resource planning. But CPU or memory usage is most of the time is not a good indicator for the real workload, as Eric mentioned earlier about how we know about the application. So I want to take Kafka as an example. And you may have, in your system, many Kafka producers sending messages to Kafka brokers at different rates at different time of the day. And you want to make sure you have enough Kafka consumer to receive and process those messages in time without causing a lot of delays. If we look at this, we'll say, okay, can I just use the CPU usage of Kafka consumer as my workload indicator and do prediction? And we don't think this is actually a better one. What we think is, for this application, the production rate of the message from the producer should be the right workload metrics for it. And using this with our ability to predict the appropriate workload, and we can dynamically scale the Kafka consumers so that the right amount of consumer pods will be serving a Kafka message at the right time. As I show you in this demo, on the right-hand side here, this is the observed message production rate, changing throughout at a different time of the day, high and low. And that's what our prediction that roughly match the workload that's coming in. Using this information, we will be able to, on the left-hand side, to scale up and down the different number of the consumer pods so that you can handle the loads coming in. So this is the example of providing actions when we can predict the dynamic workload of an application. So this is another benefit of our AI-based workload prediction for the auto-scaling. Now, we can achieve more benefits when we fully understand the future workloads. And I can use that in deciding appropriate resources. For example, right? You might consider moving from your current on-premises cluster to a public cloud service provider. Now, you want to know about how much cost it will be for each different provider. Now, knowing the future workload and understanding that will actually help you to choose the right instance type, and that are the most cost-effective. But at the same time, the amount of resources you choose will handle the workload for the cluster and the future workloads. In this example over here, we show, in the current cluster, 4 nodes, 1 master, 3 workers, and running on the AWS. That's what you're paying a month. But because we understand your workload and do the predictions, and then based on the different pricing options from the different service provider, we can actually recommend the right type of instance and the right number of the cluster nodes and from the different service provider, and that can save you money. So this is one of the advantages of knowing your workload and help you to find the best cost-effective way of public cloud service that you can choose. Now, federated AI can further analyze your application usage and prediction to know the spend on different applications. So let me show you this as an example over here. So our system will be able to analyze your usage and based on prediction to know how you're going to spend at the namespace level. And you can see in this example, there are many resources wasted in the idling time. And that's the reason we can actually, we can provide a recommendation to find what's the right instance type and how many instances, how many cluster node resource you need to do your job. So this provides you a way to analyze the cost that you have. And from there, you can do appropriate actions to reduce the cost based on our recommendation. We can order based on the prediction to estimate what's the total cost going to be for each of the namespace. And that allow you to do some budget planning for the applications that are going through in the future month or the future weeks. So in summary, I'd like to kind of bring up what are the benefits because the understanding of the future workload. With that, user can do a better effective resource planning. We can optimize the price and performance to auto scale appropriate paths based on the need. And also finally, we can actually do a better cost analysis for your application deployment so we can reduce your cost. And that's what the benefits and values that we can bring into our customers.
Hey, Ming, can I ask you a question? You remember about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, there was a really, really, really bad security vulnerability in processors, and it was exploited by, I think it was called Heartbleed and Shell Shock.
Yes.
It was taking advantage of a function that was built into processors called speculative execution.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm certainly not the deepest technical person anymore, but is Federator.ai almost like speculative execution for workloads in the cloud?
Not at what we're doing right now. What we are focusing is based on the understanding of those resource usages at that levels. We are looking to try to see the relationship between different layers of the from the application all the way down to the lower level network storage and stuff. But we are not getting into the inspection of what the specific how each application is run at that level. So this is a different kind of domain.
Okay.
And this is my demo for the our Federator.ai. And just quickly, I'll show you that our integration with the Datadog dashboard. We have a strong relationship with Datadog, and we have been integrating our solution with Datadog. So Datadog customers who that are using the Datadog as a way to monitoring their system and understand or troubleshoot their whole deployment. And we are able to provide the future looking, what's your application look like, how much resources you're going to use. And so as you see over here, this is our application, and we provide the CPU recommendation, memory recommendation, as well as what the predictions look like. And one interesting to see over here is in the Datadog showing over here, they cannot draw what is in the future. So then we are actually presenting a table format of what the features look like for the recommendation prediction. We have also other integration at the cluster level, at the application level, and other things we just showed in our regular UI. We actually presented those information into the Datadog dashboards. So there's a strong integration. The customer can benefit from a single pane of glass for management. So this is conclude my demo today.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Back to you, Eric.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mike, one very interesting thing to see here is that in the past, the monitoring services, they all provide a one-way street data flow. For example, they collect the data by the agents and then send over to the cloud services, and then do the UI for assembling accumulated data. So in one, the data will be shown in a single pane of glass, and we are actually extending that by doing the data analysis at the level of the cloud services, and sending back the recommendation of the operations, okay, back to, for example, Datadog, and Datadog would be able to send it over back to the user and then manage the operations of the application from there. So that's a very interesting idea that in the past, this is only, the monitoring is only showing the display of what's happening, meaning that it's offering visibilities. But we are adding to the day-to operations. Right?
I was going to ask you, yeah, like what was your relationship with Datadog? I know that you've got some supporting statements from Elon, who's their VP of product at Datadog. What other monitoring tools are you folks integrated with besides Datadog?
Okay, of course, we've been working together with Datadog, and they are all very professional people. And Elon and myself, we are all sitting on the Red Hat Customer Advisory Council, right? Software Partners, Software Partner Advisory Council. So Red Hat actually provides very good platforms and ecosystems for not only OpenShift itself, but also for companies or vendors that are working together to make the OpenShift a more popular or feasible platforms for enterprises, customers. So we all appreciate that. And Datadog is, from our perspective, they offer very good monitoring services. And as a matter of fact, we actually have with Datadog, we come up with a layer called data adaptation. And that data adaptation with some revisions, we are now be able to support other vendors such as Distic and Dynatrace. And we've been working on others. For example, we've been considering the collaboration with Instana / IBM now, right?
I was gonna ask you about Instana. I know Pete Abrams, the co-founder of Instana.
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
recently been acquired by IBM, so I was going to ask
That's
about
right.
about
That's
Instana.
right. Pete is we actually had a conversation about a couple of days back. Yeah, on that.
Yeah, Pete's off, got a new project going now. It's
Yeah,
going to
I
be
understand.
interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with. So, how long when you get this all set up, is it fully optimized right away, or is there some learning curve for Federator.ai to actually sort of like train itself before giving out accurate workload predictions?
Okay, this is Ming. Let me take this one.
Okay.
Yeah, as we know, yeah, for AI algorithms and stuff, you do need to have some type of learning period, right, to base on the data. Now we have a different prediction granularities. We have something doing daily prediction, weekly or monthly. Now, so if you want to do the daily prediction, then a few hours later, we start getting some basic data, then we can start do prediction. But of course, the longer the period it is, the better the result is. And so looking at a weekly or monthly, they will actually take a few, for the monthly, you probably take, a week or 2 weeks. We start to have the data showing up. And the longer you go, the better our prediction is.
Okay.
To answer that from a more sales perspective, is that of course Ming actually answered that very good in technical manner, but to take the question from different angle is that the more data that we collect, the more period of time that we use, the more accurate the result will be. Okay, but we can we can start working on something even within a very short period of time. Like Ming said, that for the operations, the performance-wise, so it probably doesn't need to have a long-term forecast for that. But for the long-term, the cost analysis, it probably need to have a longer term of observation data in order for this to be more accurate.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left, and I know from looking at the people on the bridge here on the call, I know we've got Tad Lebec has been on the whole time, and I believe he's your VP of marketing for the company. So, given that we have just about 2 minutes left, what would you like to throw out there, mention, so that you don't have to have the phone call from Tad right after the show saying, Ming, I can't believe you didn't talk about XYZ, or Eric, how could you forget about all these things I asked you to talk about in our dry runs. What is that thing that you want to say so you don't have to get that call from Tad?
Yeah, Tad, take it away. Yeah.
I think Tad is not a presenter, so I think his microphone's muted.
Tad, can you unmute?
Let me see if I can do it. Nope. I don't think I have the ability to unmute his microphone. Anyways, we'll save that question for next time.
Yeah, but I think that I can say something on behalf of Tad because
Sure.
he's like I said, Ted and I have known each other for more than 15 years, and has done tremendous jobs, and he has a great acquaintances in the industry. But the key thing he chose to join ProphetStor is that he sees the great potential or exponential growth in the coming years because in the phase one of the adoption of the Kubernetes platforms, right? No matter if it's in cloud or 5G, the first issue will be the visibility and security, right? But the second phase of that will be the day two operations, which will be mainly on the performance and the cost of the operations, and that's what our ProphetStor has been working on. And we want to bring automation into the picture because all the solutions we have seen on the market, they all require the human ingenuity and that complex operations warrant newer solutions that would involve machines and machine learning, right? So that's exactly what ProphetStor is good at. What Ming just demonstrated is that we are using our partners' data. We don't do monitoring ourselves, so we can work with many sources of data, and those data involve multi-layers of data. So, for example, like in Datadog, we collect not only the applications but also the Kubernetes and also the microservices and also the cloud services platforms data, and we start to correlate them and find out the impact, the causality of that, and then from there reduce a lot of efforts in building models, which actually is a great achievement because with only a minimum resources that we need in order to do the prediction and also understanding of what's going on, we can do a very good job in the playbook orchestration and then eventually automations of the executions. So, so we believe this will be the next phase of a big and explosive growth of adoptions. And in order for Kubernetes and OpenShift platforms to be widely adopted, and also the success of the MultiCloud to be warranted, we believe Federated.ai will be something that's really needed solutions, and that's what interest Tad and what Tad has been telling people. Right.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I think we're gonna wrap it up here for the day. I believe that we're having a conversation with you and Datadog about doing a customer webinar coming up sometime in either January or February.
That's right.
When we, I think that should be pretty interesting when we put that together. If anyone wants to find out about getting in touch with us about when that webinar is with ProphetStor and Datadog, you can just send me an email. It's just waite@redhat.com, WAITE at redhat.com. Let me put up the gratuitous closing call to action slide here. And this is basically how you can find out more about Federated.ai and more about ProphetStor. And Eric, I don't know if you want to speak to these.
Oh yeah, so of course, we would love you to check out our website for more insight, detailed descriptions about the technologies and application of federated AI. And also, we are available on solution is right there at the Red Hat Marketplace. So you can take a look at that, check it out on the Red Hat Marketplace. It has been certified and available there. And also we provide free trial. So this is the link to it. And you can also follow us on Twitter. We constantly put out the updates about the technology, also availability of products, and also the application case studies, etc. So stay in touch and stay healthy.
Okay. Well, thank you, Eric and Ming, for joining us today. I'm Michael Waite from the OpenShift Commons Briefings, our Operator Hours show, and we're signing off. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.